Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this pre-recorded webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about the ARPA St. Pete Social Services Hubs initiative to select a lead nonprofit for some wonderful work that is happening in the city of St. Petersburg that PCF gets to partner on. I'm going to just go ahead and get us started. First things first, my name is Rose Sarantev, and I am the program officer for ARPA, and it's a joy to be here. I'm going to kick it over to Jocelyn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jocelyn Howard. I am our ARPA Senior Program Officer, and I'll pass it to Dr. Reed.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Stephanie Reed, and I am assisting with technical assistance.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Just to kind of prep us for this recording, we have an agenda. We're going to first review ARPA and what a hub even is. We'll talk about ways to address the impact later on after we walk through the application. We'll give you more information on eligibility, show you what the grant portal looks like, talk to you about what to expect in terms of the timeline for this initiative, a little review about the kind of financial expectations just walking in as you prepare your application, and then we'll talk to you about the abundance of technical assistance that we'll be offering throughout the RFP process. So to dive in a little bit about this St. Pete program, PCF, Pinellas Community Foundation, is working with the city of St. Pete to launch an initiative to support the residents of St. Petersburg and the nonprofits that locally serve them. If you're familiar with the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, this is where the support and funding for this initiative is coming from, and it's really all about still trying to offset the harm that the COVID-19 pandemic had on the community. This funding will be available in 2023, which is when we will select the lead nonprofit and kick off the planning for the first hub. And then there is a spending deadline, and so these funds have to be spent by the end of 2026. And to really zoom in the parts of this initiative, there's two major branches. The first one, which we'll really be focusing on today, is going to be this community support hubs, which we will refer to as hubs throughout this recording. And these are to address the mental health care and other social services that local neighborhoods in St. Pete are in need of and need more support around. We also have a second branch, which is more so focused on the nonprofits who are serving these neighborhoods. This is going to be called the Nonprofit Incubator, which we'll talk about later in the timeline at another point in this initiative. Today, we're really going to focus on the hubs. So why did we pick community support hubs? COVID-19 really increased the financial and social stress on our community that has led to a high spike in mental health needs. And so to respond to that, this initiative has really leaned into neighborhood-based social services, and with the focus of making sure that humans have a dignified space that is comfortable, that is trusted, and that way these clients, these people in our community can really access these services and feel good about accessing them. So to talk a little bit more about specifically the support hubs, each hub will be providing three core services. That is mental health, case management, and outreach. Hubs will also be connecting residents to other resources. So outside of those three main core resources, you can come in, a client can come in and say, I need help with X, and this hub will be able to kind of navigate them to that place to access those services. In addition to the neighborhood specific services of each hub and those three core services, there is the option for emergency funds to be released to individuals and families who are in crisis situations. So that will also be a component. And then of these community support hubs, and really what we're talking about today is the selection of the lead nonprofit who will be behind the design and implementation of all of the hubs for this. my dog is very excited about the initiative. So I don't know if you can hear her barking, but I'll wrap this up and say that the lead nonprofit will be responsible for facilitating sessions with community members. And so this is to really engage the community to see what kind of services they need at these hubs, and also the best places to set up these hubs where there's high need. And now I'll kick it over to Jocelyn.
So a little bit about eligibility for organizations interested in applying for this opportunity as a lead nonprofit. I'm not going to read through each of these verbatim, but we are looking for 501c3 organizations that have been providing services to the community for at least 2 years before the application launch date, which is March 24th of this year. We also are looking for lead nonprofits that have a history of providing mental health services for at least 2 years before March of this year, or that you're applying with a collaborative partner that has this mental health experience, and we'll get more into that soon. We also are really emphasizing experience connecting with and providing care to a variety of people who are representative of our St. Pete community, so that's including Black and Hispanic residents, and that you all are aware of and experienced in trauma-informed services and support. So again, these are kind of all of the high-level eligibility criteria, and we'll get more into the partnerships in a bit. Can you go back one? So a little bit more information about the lead nonprofit. This is the organization that will lead and design the community support hubs that Rose was talking about. And again, I want to emphasize that this lead could have their own experience providing mental health care to under-resourced communities, or they could have experience in the other core services and propose to apply with a partner that has that mental health care experience. So the takeaway from this is that one of your partners has to have been providing mental health care in the community. We are looking at a high level for lead nonprofits that are well connected to the community and that have a vision to design and implement these hubs. What's really important to note is that there will be a nonprofit incubator coming on board, like Rose mentioned, a little bit later this year as part of this ARPA funding. And both that nonprofit incubator and PCF will offer administrative support throughout the process. So if you're an organization that fits all the eligibility criteria, but maybe you're very small or you have never run an initiative like this before, we don't want that to prevent you from applying, because there will be plenty of support available to you to strengthen your operations and to make your vision come to life. In terms of funding, there's $5.1 million available for this initiative, and that is meant to fund the hubs through 2026. So now I'll talk a little bit more about partnership. Rose described these 3 core services that the hubs must provide, which is the trauma-informed therapy, case management, and outreach. If your organization chooses to, you can apply with up to 2 additional nonprofits. I want to note that there will still be a single lead nonprofit, and that's just kind of for logistical reasons. We have to have a contract with the lead nonprofit, but you are able to apply collaboratively. And like I said before, at least one of these partners must have the experience providing mental health care to under-resourced communities in St. Pete. And another note is that if you're applying with partners, all of you should be equally involved in the proposal writing and in the hub design and implementation from the very beginning. So these are partners you're really collaborating with to create a vision of the hubs. So now we will do a walkthrough in the PCF grant portal so you can see a little bit about the questions you'll actually be answering if you decide to apply.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I will open up the grant portal here now. And so, welcome to the grant portal. Many of you might be familiar with it. I have gone ahead and opened up the application, but when you log in, you'll see the summary for this program, and then you'll be able to select more information and hit apply. So the first thing that I want to highlight, because we're really talking a lot about the option of being able to collaborate with your core partners. When you log in as an applicant, there will be a blue rectangle button up in the right corner that says collaborate. It's very simple to invite people to your application in our grant portal. You're basically going to put their email in and then select what kind of level of engagement or permission they're going to have with the application. So it's very similar to like a Google Doc. They can view it, they can edit it. And so if you need help, feel free to contact me and I can help you along. So just to jump right in, we do have a Word version for you guys. So if you prefer to work outside of the system and edit kind of a little bit more leisurely, you can download the Word document. And then once you feel really good about your responses, you can go ahead and copy and paste those into the application in the portal. A lot of this information we just described to you, so feel free to refresh yourself before or throughout your proposal writing. This first section is, the basic nuts and bolts of the organization. We're going to get your name, when you're incorporated, your mission, your vision, and that annual operating budget. Again, short and sweet to start out the application. And then the next section is on the organization programming background.
So the goal of this one is really to understand a little bit more in detail what your organization has been doing in the city of St. Pete, what type of people you serve, what services you provide. And this will help us, again, just kind of get a more holistic view of the work you do. I want to note too that there are spaces in here to describe things like how you support clinicians if you provide mental health care, and also how you provide the services that you do in a way that's culturally sensitive and responsive. So you can see here some of the other questions, like Rose mentioned. If you have any specific questions on any of these, we are available for you. I'm not going to read through all of them now, but that's kind of the high level what the background is meant to collect.
Cool. The next section of the application is around the operations of the hubs.
And so this section is really meant for you to have an opportunity to describe how you will design and lead the hubs. If you're working with a collaborator or a partner, you should collaborate with your partner to design this hub process and specifically tell us how you would go about implementing the hub, identifying the needs of the community, and speak specifically to how your organization is best fit to provide these services. I'll kick it back over to Jocelyn.
Awesome.
So after you have told us about yourself, your organization, maybe your partner organization, and shared your vision, we have a few questions that we're calling reference questions here. These are not scored, so they're not going to negatively impact your application, but it's information that will be really helpful for us and for the grant review committee to understand, again, just a little bit more of the context of your work. So we ask about partnerships or referral relationships. We ask, and this is an important one, about the support you think you might need to design and implement the hubs. So this can be anything big to small. It's not a weakness to say that you will need support in certain areas. That's actually really a strength that you're able to recognize that and define that. And then if you use any software, any systems currently in your work, again, this is not a requirement. We would love to know about that too. There's some more nuts and bolts uploads here. So we're asking that you put together a hypothetical budget for the first year of the hub. So should you be awarded the grant, what type of things based on your hub design will you expect to spend money on? Excel and PDF files are allowed. So this is the first upload. We ask for your Form 990, as well as a list of your board of directors. And there's a few agreements here. One is really one that we want to flag for you. Because you are considered a subrecipient of federal funding, if you are to be awarded this lead nonprofit opportunity, you're bound by the federal guidance for these awards. And that includes being subject to federal single audits. So because this grant award is more than $750,000, you will be subject to this audit, and you can bill the cost of that to the grant. You can include it as part of your budget. So we just want to make sure that you saw that and ask for you to check yes. And then we also want to flag that we are operating this whole process very transparently, and we upload applications to our website. So we want to make sure that also that organizations are aware of that. And that's the application. So we're going to go back to the slide deck and wrap up with a few final details.
So evaluation and measuring success at the hubs is an important part of this, because we really want to understand how implementation of the hubs is happening and whether we're being successful in its rollout. So measuring success will happen in two ways. It will happen from a adaptive and intentional planning perspective, where we're really learning as we roll out the hubs one by one, with the first hub opening this summer. The lead nonprofit will learn from the rollout in conjunction with PCF, and we'll understand what should be tweaked and what should be improved upon before we open the second hub. There'll also be the collection of meaningful metrics to understand how the hub is performing, and the lead nonprofit will help shape what types of outcomes are measured. These outcomes will be specific to the community that the hub is located in, and it's aimed to capture individual and neighborhood impact and improvement over time. Other factors like sustainability will be important to understand, so we know how successful the hubs are and how we can maintain them in years to come.
So this is the program timeline, and I want to first mention that everything that you're hearing and more is available at our ARPA website, which is pinellascf.org/ARPA. It's linked to on this slide, which you'll have access to. Again, today, what we've been talking about are these social service hubs, and the application is open now, and it will stay open until May 5th. We will have an external review committee read your applications. So that is a great system, because that means staff can be involved with you to support you, to answer questions, because we are not the ones reading and evaluating what you submit. So that external committee will meet in May and recommend an application for funding. And then planning for the first hub will take place this summer, and we are hoping that the first hub will open at the end of summer of this year. And one thing I want to mention, and this is on our FAQ page, is how many hubs will there be? We don't know yet. That's really going to depend on the lead nonprofit. It's going to depend on neighborhood need. And the way this program is set up is to learn as you go. So like Dr. Reed mentioned, the first hub will open, and that will be an opportunity for a lot of learning and troubleshooting. And based on the learnings from the first hub, the location for the second hub will be selected, and then the second hub would open. So they're going to open one at a time. So I just wanted to add that note. This is some of what I mentioned in the application, that you are considered a subrecipient of federal funding, which means there's extra monitoring and some extra requirements to this funding. And so you will be subject to a federal single audit. Again, the cost of that can be billed to this grant. We will also work with you to determine a payment schedule that fits your organization's needs. So, that's basically how we get the funding to you. It could be through reimbursement, and it could be through advance payment. It really depends on the structure of your nonprofit and the partners that you're working with. So this is our bread and butter, we are here for you. All three of us on this webinar will be available throughout the application process for questions. We have 2 in-person dates, and now breaking news, we have locations for these. So they'll be held, one at Enoch Davis Rec Center and one at Roberts. So we're trying to cover the whole St. Pete, and then the TA session in May will be virtual. So check on the website, those will be updated with the locations. There is a request support form on our PCF ARPA page that is open to you all the time. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to submit via that form, and then we'll direct the request to the team member that's can best respond to you. And you'll also have access to our email addresses. So we're really here for you. We want to help, and we'll be available through the application process. Here's our contact information, and thank you so much for watching.